Welcome to Stories, Science and Secrets, Episode 2. I'm Elaine, and in just a moment you'll hear the second part of Rockford's Rock Opera's musical story, Lost on Infinity. But in case you haven't heard the beginning of the story and wonder what on earth is going on, you'll need to click back to our first episode. But if you have heard episode 1, you'll be wanting to know what happens next, and you'll also know how our podcast works. First our story, and then the science and secrets bit. And this time, Steve, Matthew and I will be talking about a remarkable creature you're about to meet in the second part of Lost on Infinity. Rockford the dog has gone to Battersea Park with Moog, the boy who owns him. But now he's got lost and has found himself on a leaf boat with a small yellow creature stuck to his backside. The creature is a cocklebur ick, and as we join them, she's just told Rockford her sad story.
With the little ick still stuck awkwardly to his bottom, Rockford peered nervously over the side of the leaf boat, wondering where on earth this strange journey was taking them. Then, as the boat slowed, far in the distance, he saw the shape of an island, glowing warmly beneath the vivid sky. There was a splash from the water next to the boat. Rockford looked round and found himself staring at a funny-looking creature with a large green head, 2 big black eyes, and an awful lot of legs.
I think this must mean we're nearly there,
said the ick. Suddenly, Rockford jumped back in shock as 2 wet tentacles clamped themselves to the side, and then, smoothly, the leggy creature heaved itself up out of the water and onto the boat. 8 further tentacles came over the side as it did, clamping themselves on with hundreds of little suckers.
Colonel Utensil and Squid Squad at your service,
announced the creature.
You're an octopus,
said Ick.
Wrong, I'm a dectopus. I have 10 legs, count them 10. And are you the Ick?
said Colonel Utensil, examining a seaweed sheet he held in one of his tentacles.
You're much bigger than I thought.
I'm the same size I've always been.
Colonel Utensil's big black eyes swiveled and focused.
You're speaking without moving your mouth. Squid Squad, form up.
There was a splashing from the water beside the boat, and Rockford saw a massed waving of tentacles as 6 or 7 more multi-legged things scurried into action. They lined up in neat formation, and then, squirting powerful jets of water behind them, they began circling round and round the boat. Rockford could see them watching him closely, their little eyes gazing up from beneath the surface of the water. This was clearly a force to be reckoned with.
They can't come out of the water,
said Colonel Utensil, looking down at his little troop.
Only dectopuses or dectopi, if you want to be la-di-da about it, ever developed the ability to spend time out of the water. Not,
he sniffed,
that it ever did us much good.
Rockford didn't really understand this.
Still, they're as good a bunch of cephalopods as you'll find. Good lads, all of them. Apart from Lulu there, she's a female.
And that's the Squid Squad.
Well, the recruitment criteria specify a member of the squid family at least. They come from all over, very old most of them. If it's got tentacles and it squirts ink, it's in, generally speaking.
Colonel Utensil glanced down again at his squid squad, bobbing in the water with their legs waving. He looked almost proud, until he snapped himself out of it.
Now see here,
he said, his 2 large eyes rolling up and down as he scanned his seaweed sheet.
You don't match the description I've got for an ick. You are clearly a large and furry animal, and on my list it says small and sticky. You are not small and you are not sticky, and therefore you are not an ick.
I am small and I am sticky. That's why I'm stuck.
You don't look sticky to me, you look hairy, big and hairy. In fact, I'll describe you as a large hairy quadruped, and on my list it says small sticky vertebrate. There's some funny business going on here and no mistake.
Oh, I think I see the problem. I've got a dog stuck to me.
Stuck to you, thought Rockford. That's a bit of a cheek. You're stuck to me.
What do you want to do that for?
It always happens. Things stick to me.
Realising the Dectopus couldn't see the little ick stuck to his backside, Rockford decided to try and help. So he shifted round and presented his bottom.
Don't move!
Shouted the Dectopus.
Utensil to base. Large furry mammal in boat currently manoeuvring into hostile position. Request backup.
At this, Squid Squad shot to the surface and came hurtling out of the water and into the air. Rockford saw their tentacles extending into kung fu kicks with scary speed. Then they dropped back into the water again.
Lesson for trying, but you can't form a truly efficient fighting unit when you can't survive out of water. I kept telling them I need an air-breathing detachment to do this job properly, but the bureaucracy in that place.
Now can you see me?
Said Ick. Colonel Utensil jumped.
Oh!
He said, rocking backwards on his 10 rubbery legs.
Down here, near his...
No need to get graphic. I can see you now. Ah, yes, that's more like it. You match the description perfectly. Small and sticky. You're on the list,
Announced Colonel Utensil. He seemed happy and squirted a blob of ink next to a picture on his seaweed that looked like an ick. Then he stared back at Rockford.
And what did you say this was?
A dog. He got stuck to me in Battersea Park.
Dog, eh? You're not on a list. Mostly insects today, plus this ick, but definitely no dog.
What was this list he kept talking about? And why was it so important who was on it? And why was this island guarded by a squid squad? Rockford didn't have a clue what it all meant, so he just kept quiet, which was generally his way. He found it usually worked. Utensil thought for a second.
You haven't got a moth with you, have you?
No.
Dog instead of a moth, eh?
The Colonel seemed strangely pleased by this prospect.
Not my problem.
He eventually announced.
And I need to get wet again. Squad, dismiss.
He flipped himself off the boat and swam to the head of the squid squad, who could now hardly contain their excitement.
Wait for it, wait for it. Right. Squid squad squirt.
Colonel Utensil and Squid Squad disappeared into the distance. The leaf boat began moving again, and at last it seemed Rockford and Ick were to be allowed to land on the mysterious island, with its long, welcoming beach.
So what is this mysterious island? And what did Colonel Utensil, the Dectopus, mean when he said Rockford wasn't on the list? To find out, you need to listen to Stories, Science and Secrets episode 3. But right now, I'm back with Steve.
Hello.
And Matthew. And first of all, we're going to talk about Colonel Utensil.
And he's basically an octopus.
But he's got 10 legs.
Well, yes, so he's a Dectopus. Actually, did you know an octopus, in fact, has 2 legs and 6 arms? Anyway, for our story, we wanted a creature that was sort of familiar, but also just a little bit strange.
And we needed a character who could do clever things, like examine seaweed sheets, separate cocklebur ricks from dogs, and command a squid squad.
Well, and talk.
Well, yes, there's that too, although there are rules about talking in our story, which we'll explain later. But in real life, octopuses are pretty amazing.
In fact, some scientists think they could be aliens that arrived on Earth millions of years ago.
Oh, really? And which scientists is that?
No, proper scientists. They published their theories in a journal called Progress in Biophysics and Molecular Biology.
I am impressed.
They say that the sudden burst of new life that happened 500 million years ago, called the Cambrian explosion, was because extraterrestrial life forms landed on Earth.
What, space octopuses?
Not exactly. The scientists said that tiny alien viruses crashed to Earth on board a meteor. infected some squid, and they evolved into octopuses.
Now, hang on. So viruses give you colds. So a snotty comet made octopuses.
That's pretty much it.
That sounds quite unlikely to me.
Yes, but octopuses are really weird.
They're extraordinary. They're mollusks, like the snails in your garden, but they're geniuses. And did you know?
They can instantly change their skin to look like rocks, plants, or anything they want to blend with.
And they can shift their shape to fit into tiny spaces.
They can work out puzzles.
And recognise different people.
They can build octopuses' gardens.
And they have beaks.
They have blue blood.
And if they lose an arm or a leg, it will grow back.
They can predict World Cup football results.
It's true. A German octopus called Paul did that back in 2010.
I'm not so sure about that one. But they do have 6 arms and 2 legs. And did I mention their 3 brains?
So perhaps it's not so odd to imagine that octopuses are aliens.
Maybe not. Whatever they are, they're amazing.
And now, before we leave the water, Steve has another story of how humans are learning from nature. Can you remember what it's called? That's right, biomimicry. And here's Steve's story about one of our favourite animals.
Creatures' secret. Creatures' secrets.
Creatures' secrets.
Creatures' secrets. Creatures' secrets.
What make a secret?
Ooh.
The story of the whale shark and how they're helping us clean the oceans. Whale sharks are some of the biggest fish in the ocean. They can grow as big as a bus. A proper bus too, not a minibus like the one you have at school that the teachers borrow for the weekend. Anyway, whale sharks are very gentle and friendly, and scientists love to study them. And when scientists study whale sharks, they learn a lot of things about how they move and breathe in the ocean. And one thing that Dutch scientists noticed is that whale sharks have a special way of eating. They open their mouths very wide and they suck in a lot of water, and then they filter the water through their gills to get the tiny plants and animals they like to eat. And this process is called filter feeding. Now, the scientists thought, hey, if we could make a machine that works the way a whale shark filters food, it could be used to clean the ocean of plastic. Because that's how they sound. They tried many different ways, but nothing worked as well as the whale shark. But then finally they had a breakthrough, and they made a floating robot called a waste shark. It uses a big net to collect plastic and then filters the water to separate the plastic from the sea creatures so they are unharmed. And now these whale shark filters are being used all over the world to help clean up the oceans. So by studying whale sharks and their filter feeding, scientists have been able to invent machines that can help clean the ocean of plastic.
So now you've been listening to Lost on Infinity for a bit, you'll realise that it is, of course, a musical story. And so we asked ourselves, where does music come from? And how has the natural world helped shape the music we make and the instruments we make it with?
Music has been around for a very long time. In fact, it seems it's been part of human life for tens of thousands of years, long before the invention of writing or the wheel.
The most ancient musical instrument we've found so far is a 60,000-year-old Neanderthal flute.
Neanderthals were a species of primitive, hairy early human.
The instrument is made from the bone of a cave bear, and it has 4 holes that make different notes when you blow through it. Just like the recorder you might make beautiful noises with at school.
Flute makes good noise.
But who knows what other instruments there might have been that haven't survived.
Perhaps there were Neanderthal Moog synthesizers.
Techno. Upfield. Techno.
I think that's highly unlikely.
Although Matthew and I have actually been in bands with some Neanderthals, otherwise known as drummers.
I can't believe you're making jokes about drummers. It's so unfair.
Yes, it is. And I would like to apologise very sincerely to all Neanderthals listening, because you're nothing like as weird and hairy as drummers.
Anyway, it seems humans have always found ways to create music.
Music is all about sound, vibrations passing through the air that our ears pick up and our brains decode. It's incredible.
And so it's probably no surprise that humans have always been fascinated by sound.
Although we can never be completely sure, we think the first music was invented when humans discovered they could make different sounds with their voices. They would sing and chant and create melodies and rhythms, copying animal sounds and calling to each other.
Then humans became more creative. They began to look at other ways to make sounds and started to experiment with the natural world around them. For example, they discovered they could blow air through plant leaves and reeds, creating a sound.
You can try this for yourself with a thick blade of grass. Just blow across the flat edge like this.
Excellent. They also found they could use animal horns, shells and bones to make different sounds, depending on how they blew into them.
I feel creative.
And these discoveries led to the creation of some of the first musical instruments. Early humans would take reeds or plant leaves and tie them together to create pipes. They would also hollow out animal horns and bones and then add sound holes and use them like that Neanderthal flute.
All of these early instruments were made from simple, natural materials, but they were the inspiration for many of the instruments we still use today. The flute, trumpet, guitar, and drums all have their roots in designs created by our ancestors thousands upon thousands of years ago.
Why not try creating your own band with things you find around the house or garden? Just like the first humans. It's amazing all the sounds you can create.
Yes, you can even get your granny to join in. Oh, and your dad will love it when he's trying to watch Match of the Day.
So now we're nearly at the end of part 2 of Stories, Science and Secrets. If you've got any questions, we'd love to hear from you. Our email address and website details are in the story notes. But before we go, Matthew has the answer to a question about the Squid Squad, which we've had many, many times before.
Yes, well, the question is how to sound like an octopus or a squid. In doing this, you have to realise this isn't really the sound of an octopus or a squid. Well, maybe it is, but I'm not really sure. Perhaps someone will tell us. But anyway, in Lost on Infinity, the squid sort of sound like that. And so does Colonel Utensil, the Dectopus, of course. But it's actually very easy to do. So I'm happy to pass on this particular skill that I have. Steve can do accents from all over the world and hilarious impressions, but I can sound like a cephalopod. So, first of all, you need to make a noise like this. Or. Can you do that? Or. It's very easy. It's or. And then maybe waver it around a bit. So, or. Okay? Then take your preferred squid noise-making finger and put it in front of your lips, having washed your hands first, of course. And then go up and down, like that. Now, if you put those two actions together, the oh noise and the you get something like this. And you'll be surprised just how fulfilling it can be. Anyway, that's how you make the noise of a squid, octopus or dectopus, and you can spend hours of fun, particularly in the bath, being a squid or an octopus, or even a squid meeting an octopus. I certainly do it, and I've never looked back.
Well, thank you for that, Matthew. So now that's it from us. Stories, Science and Secrets Episode 3 is out now, and we can't wait to join you there. If you like the show, then please follow us on your favourite podcast app and rate or review us on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. But for now, it's goodbye from Steve,
Goodbye.
Matthew, Kenny the cat, who's been far best behaved this week, and me, Elaine. Goodbye.
Is someone testing a motorbike outside your house?
Sounds like it,
No,
certainly.
it's here.
Oh, it's there. Oh, okay.
It's so loud.
Sounds like they're trying
Very
it out.
odd.
They're in the process of deciding whether to buy it. Yeah. The thing is, it's really loud. Do you want to see how loud it is? Because it's one of the loudest bikes on the market.
I think we're going to have to invest in some soundproofing.